So this morning, we are going to continue with our new series that we started last week, based on the book All for Love, The Transformative Power of Holding Space, written by Matthew Kahn. And so Matt describes in his book, now more than ever, in the times of conflict and discord that we experience in our personal lives, in the world around us, how crucial it is that we really are willing and are courageous to embody the consciousness of love from the highest place in consciousness that we are capable of. And so before I get into some of Matt's work, I just wanted to explore how new thought communities like Unity views love. It is one of our innate spiritual powers, the power of love, and it is our capacity to hold affection and hold and embody compassion for ourselves, for others, for all human life, all life, Mother Earth, that which we see, that which we don't see. And it is also our capacity to desire. Now, I know in different faith traditions and in society, desire might get a bad rap. It can mean attachment to things. Here, as we look at consciousness, right, when we are in personality, ego, human consciousness, all ways that we can describe that, our love or our desire may be to get even, to have a revenge tour, to have a whole chocolate cake. There's nothing wrong with chocolate cake, but maybe it just doesn't do your body good. But when June's like, I want a piece right now. Not a whole one. I'll have a piece with you. Or if we are embodying our divinity, right? We navigate, as Jesus says, I'm in this world, but not of this. It wasn't some woo-woo, but we are human and divine, and we are walking between the worlds, so to speak. Different set of rules, right? And so we also know that from the divinity within us, we can embody love where we could be at the bedside of an ex-husband who maybe in our past has been the source of maybe some pain and discomfort. We can embody love, meaning that I desire, my spiritual desire from the highest place is to move, breathe, to act, to speak in ways that are honoring, respectful of myself and others. It doesn't mean I'm going to agree with everyone. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to do lunch with everybody. But nevertheless, what is the consciousness I hold? Am I able to behold their sacred worth regardless of whether I agree with them or not? Which can be very challenging at times, can it not? And it is also our capacity to harmonize and unify, meaning I am, taking love and our power of power, which is that I am the master of my feelings, my thoughts, my actions, and through the power of love, I desire to unify and harmonize my actions, my beliefs from the highest place in consciousness from my divine nature. And so in All for Love, Matt shares that it is really important for us to be able to be centered in our divine nature, and be able to understand and embody what it means to hold compassionate space for another. And so in the book, Matt shares a description of holding space. We've heard, let's hold the high watch, holding space. And so this is the definition he uses, and it is from spiritual teacher and author Heather Platt, and he says this: holding space means we are willing to walk alongside another person in whatever journey they are on without judging them, making them feel inadequate, trying to fix them, or trying to impact the outcome. When we hold space for other people, we open our hearts, offer unconditional support, and let go of judgment and control. It's quite profound, isn't it? How many of you are willing to be that? I hear the sigh, because sometimes we just want to be right, and I've been there, so I get it. And so in his book, All for Love, he shares 10 attributes that when we embody them, help us be the presence of compassionate space. And so the first attribute is the attribute of encouragement. Now, we began to explore this last week, and there's two aspects that really blend together when considering the attribute of encouragement, and they are dynamic listening and honoring the journey of another. And we honor the journey of another, looking at this, and what does that mean? What does he mean by that? Even when their choices, perceptions, interests, ambitions, and insights of another differ than what we hold or what resonates with us. How many of you find it hard to stay connected to someone when you differ in all those ways? Right? It's a little tough. Because it's either black or white, right? We think if we stay connected and compassionate, that we're in collusion with somebody, blah, blah, blah. But he's going to share some tips which I think are powerful. And again, the spiritual path is a blessing, and it is profound, and it leads to no greater joy when you say yes to it, to be transformed from the inside out. But my friends, it isn't always easy, right? And so I'm just going to go through quickly. Last week we went in a little deeper. What did it mean to embody dynamic listening? And so I'm going to just briefly go through what it is, what it means, and what it does not. So it means that I am in every moment going to be aware. Am I centered in my humanity who wants to get even, be right? Or am I going to take a deep breath and call on that which is greater than my humanity? And remember that I am whole and complete, and everyone else is whole and complete despite appearances. Which means I am going to behold the sacred worth. I might even say the word namaste. We talked about that last week. Silently, when I feel challenged. Giving someone our undivided attention. And in today's society, when there's a TV, there is, whatever device that we are glued to can be a distraction. Or what's around us. We seek to understand. We remain non-resistant. We may feel our legs shake. We may feel our necks get tight, our face get red when they are saying something that we do not agree with. And rather listening to what wonderful thing I'm going to tell you, what wonderful thing I'm going to say that's going to enlighten you, I am still. Breathing in, breathing out, knowing that in the pause, my intention is to invoke the wisdom of the divine that I am always connected to. I need to be willing to go there. And something I say is, I may not see things like you, but I really have the desire to listen to you and to understand what is important to you. I want to have a spiritual experience of you, which my humanity a lot of times does not allow. Right? And we talked about the importance of our spiritual daily work of meditation and prayer and being plugged in, just like we plug in our cell phones every day, is so crucial to be able to do this. And so what is it not? What is dynamic listening not? Is giving advice. We're listening. We're going to find out what's the crack in their story or what they're saying to prove a point, to be right, to get them to see the light. Come on already. To get something, to find fault, to agree with somebody, to be a people pleaser, or to be victimized over and over again. Right? And again, last week we talked about this does not apply that I'm going to be a presence of compassionate encouragement with you if you are being, like, while I'm present with you, if you are engaging in abuse, verbal, physical, or something criminal. I can hold the space in prayer at home where it is safe. So I just want to be clear. And so now we're going to take a look at what does Matt invite us into when he says to honor the journey of another. Honor the journey in an active way. It's not like, I honor your journey. Take care, see you some other time, maybe not. No, that's not what it means. So if we look at the Cambridge Dictionary, because this was a little hard to wrap my head around at first, because I think of encouragement as rah, rah, come on, you can do it, let's go, right? Motivate them. So in the Cambridge Dictionary, we see under encouragement are words or behavior that give someone confidence to do something. But when we look at how Matt describes it, it is to be open to the presence, be an open presence that supports someone to have the courage and confidence to share and communicate with you. Not to tell them not to like, hey, yeah, go ahead, I agree with you. And so we do that by being curious about what they believe, why they may believe it, how they are feeling. And he shares this in his book. What must this person be feeling or having endured to think, speak, and act in this way? So here are some statements of encouragement that he shares. He shares the main one, and that is, I would love to hear more about the events that led you to your feelings. I would love to hear more about the events that led you to your feelings. Now, that may feel clunky to you. It may feel wonderful to you, but here's other ways, and you can make it your own. I would like to hear more about the events that led to your beliefs, because a lot of times we conflate feelings and beliefs. They are very separate. What do you believe about that? What led you to believe X? How do you feel about whatever they're sharing? What leads you to believe that your boss is controlling, which is going to be in the next example. So I'm going to give you some statements that are simple statements, okay? I think I should quit my job because my boss is controlling. Now, could be someone that you're an acquaintance with, or it could be someone who's living with you who is annoying the heck out of you, will you have a different reaction? Maybe. Steve knows that one. I didn't show up for lunch on time because I forgot. I think teachers should carry guns to protect our children. The U.S. should stop supporting Israel because Netanyahu is a war criminal. Let us hold the intention that the hostages held by Hamas are immediately liberated with grace and ease. What do you notice is happening as you go through each one? Do some of them spark a reaction in you? Do some anger you? Do you want to push something away because it's not spiritual? Or are you neutral? Anybody want to share? Anybody want to put something in the chat on Zoom? What are you noticing? Steve. Okay.
The word I appears a lot, and it carries a self-centered thought process. And the thing about supporting Israel or Hamas is something that we need to shine a light on. It just brings out, in the old me, it would have been a type of anger or negativity about the situation, and I need to reverse that and keep going in a positive direction and try to understand everybody else's point of view rather than my own.
So you're saying, key thing, some things could be something that triggers meaning in you, where you could be reactive, and what I'm hearing is your desire to listen, because I'm sure someone else might have a different view than me, right? Sometimes in spiritual communities, if something, we talk about a war or a candidate, it's like, that's not spiritual. My friends, we are to bring our spirituality to everything we do. Because if we say this is spiritual and that's not spiritual, that is living from separation. Our spirituality is to inform everything, right? And you get to choose how you're going to dip your toe in, or if you're going to dip your toe in. So it doesn't mean, as someone who is embodying the attribute of encouragement, doesn't mean on the first one, you should quit your job. You have so much worth, you can get a job anytime you want. Because, right, encouragement, cheer them on. Come on, you can do it. Or it doesn't mean, you know what, it's okay if you don't show up on time for lunch, because my time isn't worth anything if I wait an hour or two, right? And it's not about trying to convince somebody about what's right or wrong about guns or not, although there might be a morality that connects to your own spirituality. So let's take a look at what are some statements that might help us in those times. So on the first one, I think I should quit my job because my boss is controlling. What leads you to believe that your boss is controlling? Just being curious. What might we say if somebody's living with us? Do you think that's smart? You promised to give me X amount of money. Now, I'm not saying you don't end an agreement, but do you see the difference? And it doesn't mean you don't ask them to leave next month, right, in a compassionate way. How do you feel when your boss does whatever controlling behavior they share? And how will quitting your job impact your life? Open, right? Just listening, being curious, wanting to stay centered in our wholeness. Or two, I didn't show up on time for lunch because I forgot. Well, what led you to forgetting? Like, what was going on? And how do you feel about forgetting our lunch date? And maybe at some point I might share how I might be feeling, but that's the next level. And then this last one actually happened. I'm in an intention setting group. And this is months ago. I was in meditation and I felt moved to, because it was my day to hold an intention, and I just had a flash of wanting to hold intention that the hostages that were being held by Hamas were liberated immediately with grace and ease. It was just what was on my heart. So I shared it with my intention group, and somebody in the group became disgruntled. Well, what about the Palestinians? What about this? And what about that? And so I just took a deep breath and I asked this person, I said, so what is important for you? What's on your heart? And so we turned it in. Because I was wanting that intention didn't mean that I didn't care about the welfare of the people in Gaza or Palestine. And then I said, well, maybe we can hold intention. What intention would you like to create about the people of Palestine or Gaza? Now, if I would have, no, that's not what I'm meaning, it's okay, blah, blah, blah. But do you see, we live in this world of either or, right or wrong, instead of opening up to see that all people here are hurting, and we are far away, but because we are one, it impacts all of us. But it takes me moving from my humanity that tells me we live in silos to want to seek to understand more. So what do you think the value is by being a dynamic listener and honoring the journey through statements of encouragement? What value is in this? Do you see any? Carol. And if you want to place something in the chat, please do so. Matt, I don't know if there's anything been in there.
I think it reduces the attack and defend status.
Right.
It diffuses, and you're not in a position where you're attacking someone. It's almost like you're saying, let me hear about you. Right. What's going on?
Right. Yes, it can diffuse, right? It moves us from the duality of attack and defend. Be right, you're wrong. Right? It does. Anybody else? Paula. Anything in the chat? What's in the chat? Before Paula will go, and then I'll read. You could share what's in the chat.
What it says to me, it's an opportunity at that moment for two souls to look at what is happening between them. What am I giving and what am I receiving? So if my intention is to give love and understanding, that's what I'm going to give. But if my intention is to hurt and to rebuttal and be right, I'm not giving love. So I take it deeper. I take it within, because every situation we all come against, up against, standing in a crowd, listening to about the war and this and that, takes an awful lot to go within, to stay strong to the truth.
Yes, to remain connected to the truth.
To the truth.
Right. Mm-hmm. To pray without ceasing, to allow your life to be the prayer, to allow myself to know that as I heal, as I look at myself, as I know my humanity, and as I know my divinity, I can look, see, tell the truth, and now I can be that presence. To hold a hand, open my heart, one day at a time, 1 minute at a time sometimes. Matt, what's in the chat?
There's two in here. One's from Joyce, And one's from Jeannie. Joyce says, fosters better understanding of each other. And Jeannie says, creates understanding and coming together. And wait, there's more. iPhone says, levels angst, opens communication.
Yes, beautiful. Yes. What happens when you're upset and maybe you're suffering spilling out onto somebody? Maybe it's not the other way around. Have you ever had that happen? And someone just takes a deep breath and says, sounds like this is really tough. Not like, hey, do this, do that, but you know they're listening, right? It's pretty amazing. It can be healing. And I know there's a dynamic that happens with someone who cohabitates, a family member. And sometimes when this person's upset, they go through this normal tirade, and it can be intense. And so sometimes, I want to sort of walk aside the journey. I want to give some suggestions how they can be more centered in this moment. It doesn't always go so well. But this week I've been practicing just breathing in and out of my heart. And I was affirming silently, I see you, I hear you. And my buttons, some of my own buttons were being triggered because I didn't agree with everything that this individual was saying. But I just breathed more deeply. And I went from frustration and upsetment to some peace and compassion. And I just simply said, this must be really hard for you. And then they continued and continued and continued and continued. We were in the car. And then, wait for it, I wasn't looking for it. The person said, I'm really sorry. I'm really having a bad day. I didn't mean for me to, lash out. And I just simply said, I love you. Now, it may happen again tomorrow, I don't know. Or maybe I won't take the car ride tomorrow, because that's always choice. I'm just saying. But I do care. It is not an easy journey. And in fact, we shouldn't let that it's not easy, the belief that we are going to be somebody's doormat, or that we're going to be in someone's collusion, or they're not going to know how to treat me. Well, you need to know how you can treat yourself, and it doesn't mean in another conversation you can't say, this is what I'm needing. Has the separation consciousness done us, really, has it led anywhere for us? As Carol said, it's more division, more divide, tit for tat, who's to blame? Let me prove my point. I need to have it my way. The only way I can be happy is if I'm with like-minded people, and I need to shut the rest of the world out, or otherwise my peace is gone. Sometimes we need to do that. But our healing is dependent on all of us. Yes, I am in charge of my own inner work, but my inner work and your inner work are interconnected. It is a both and. It is moving from me to we. I need to have my me alone time to be tuned in, charged in, pray, meditate, do whatever practices they are that I can. And on those days where I am feeling pain or suffering myself, I may choose to just walk away for that moment, but I am willing to step in and say yes. And I have started with family members. Yes, there are greater teachers, but I also can find it a lot easier to muster up compassion, then maybe my senator, who I don't like, is acting in a certain way. So I start one step at a time. And in fact, this is what Matt Kahn shares about the importance of this, about our consciousness and our evolution is interconnected. He says this: what if the current conflicts are actually openings to explore true peace and unity with fellow human beings? What if they were not here to annoy us? What if, as a way to shift towards a more conscious, compassionate, and interconnected society, we are becoming more aware of the pain that separates each heart from the sum of the whole? All human beings are on a journey of existential growth and emotional maturity because every living form is a manifestation of consciousness. Each is interconnected with the source of loving divine intelligence, whose nature is to constantly evolve, grow, and expand. And that is what's happening within us. And sometimes it scares the bejesus out of us. While it is the will of each person to decide how often they choose to evolve, the gift of inspired, heartfelt support, encouragement, listening fuels healing and furthers the most triumphant breakthrough in all of us. Through the attribute of encouragement, transformation can naturally arise for everyone involved, since the benefit of healing relies on the simple act of being heard. Being the presence of compassion, saying nothing, listening. The act of listening to hear someone is the elixir. It's not our great, I gotta show them. It doesn't mean we don't share things, but do they ask for it? And so what can be challenging about practicing this? What might be challenging? Anybody in Zoom? For you personally, what might be challenging? Maybe you think this is all a bunch of BS, and that's okay. Matt? The ego. Right? The ego wants to be right. It is part of our aspect of humanity wired in our brain that tries to protect us. So anything that is perceived to be against us, a different opinion, can bring on the belief that I need to protect, defend. Yes, somebody else had a hand. Donna?
To reach out from that compassionate, spiritual, connected place is an act of courage and vulnerability too. And if the other party is not responding in the way that we anticipate, that they're going to open up and soften, we're in a vulnerable position. That can be a little scary.
Yes, being vulnerable is scary. And what you speak to is, I'm going to share in just a moment. So somebody else, was it Paula or somebody had their hand? Paula?
Basically what Donna said, and for me, it's like when it says here, to revisit painful memories,
Yes.
that we in our humanness don't want to look at those memories. We bank them down and we hold them out. They have to come up. But the ego is saying, no, live with them, hold on to them. But it takes a lot of courage to go within and look at, and I use the word every day in my life, those opportunities to go within, to look at where those painful memories lie, and then to do the work of forgiving those I held against, whatever, and what I held against myself. So it takes a lot of work.
Yes.
Constant work.
Yes, inner work, courage, vulnerability, both of what you shared, right? Because when somebody shares, it may invoke unhealed aspects that are longing for healing. around, am I really safe? Am I being abandoned? Am I really being respected? Nobody can disrespect you unless you allow them. It's about their behavior, unless we want to take it on, right? And again, it doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries in our relationships, but we want to bypass the step of being a compassionate presence, right? Anybody else? Lawrence.
One of my experiences, and I try to remember this when I'm communicating with someone, is that when you really listen to someone where they're at, as soon as they get that you got that, they automatically shift. It may not be a big shift, but they have a change. They're not in the same place they were when they told you that. But they have to get that you got that. And then my personal experience is that's also true for me. When I can talk to somebody and I know they heard me and they really got it, I'm not in the same place anymore. That's really a beautiful thing to remember.
It is. It is a beautiful thing, right? To know that maybe my compassionate presence mattered, or we may not see it happening, we are going to be vulnerable, and it doesn't mean that someone may soften. But yet to be so assured within, right? For wherever we are in consciousness is what blesses us. It's not the person changing their mind, right? And so Matthew Kahn shares this. Here are other challenges that you might face. Yes, you may feel the blessing of somebody softening or seeing a shift and change, but you might also be blamed for causing someone to revisit painful memories. Someone may lash out at you for taking greater interest in their experience because it interrupts their experience and their narrative of rejection, inferiority, self-pity, perfectionism, entitlement, so on and so on. Or there's someone who they get off on arguing. And what that is because they rather not be vulnerable. So you're not going to make me feel vulnerable. You're not going to get inside. And so they ramp it up. And again, I'm not talking about abusive language here or abusive behavior. You need to do what you need to do to be safe and love them from a physical distance in prayer. And so I'd like to close today with, which is going to lead us in meditation with something he calls, before the music starts, I just want to share a couple of things. The pledge of encouragement, and I'm going to take us into, that will be part of our meditation, and then also we'll end with us holding ourselves and someone in compassion. And so, my friends, no, this is not something we can do when we are centered in our humanity. Yes, we are walking between the worlds as Jesus spoke and taught us. And we all have, on some level, a different level of our pain body. And so as we learn in the 4 agreements, don't take it personally, right? It's not about you. Doesn't mean we don't look and see to check in with us if we're not coming from our highest. And as I said before, start gradually. Start with somebody who you might be having a little bit of discord with, but you know deep in your heart it's easy to access compassion. And maybe not one of the world leaders right now. And, just this last thing. We went out for dinner last night. It was myself, Matt, and my mom. And the owner, he's a nice guy. It's the second time we were there. And I won't mention the place because then you might know who it is. So anyway, really nice man, but he started to talk about what we might call political things. And so I saw some things differently. And then I was going to say another point of view, and I said, nope, Don't go there. Breathe. Just breathe. No, I stayed. And then, all of a sudden he started talking about another point of view. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty awesome. And I didn't leave there saying, I'm never going to come back to this place. I had compassion. And so I celebrate those things because sometimes I may remain triggered, but then I get to come home and or choose again in the moment or revisit, like, what's really up for me? All right, so let us take a deep breath. And breathing in and breathing out with awareness. For we know that the breath of life is always breathing us. We can never be separated from the breath of life, universal source. And so with each breath, I become open. I become willing to move from the consciousness of separation, where I need to be right, prove a point, control things, to the openness of understanding, of the compassion of wisdom, to be the presence of love as I hold compassionate space. And so I invite you to take these words in from the pledge of encouragement shared by Matthew Kahn. I am willing to hold space through the attribute of encouragement for myself and others without attachment to the outcome. I allow my encouragement to be agenda-free. I allow it to be an offering of compassionate support for the healing of all. And let me recognize that each person is navigating the trajectory of their unique journey. As I mindfully act from a heart-centered space, I respect the journey of another. I willingly do not interfere with their journey, but simply offer the gift of loving compassion and understanding. And if and when my interactions cause hurt feelings to arise, memories of past hurts to arise that cause me to lash out in resentment. Oh, in these times, I allow myself the sacred space to be with my feelings and offer myself the gift of encouragement. I am willing to honor the attribute of encouragement as a way of reminding others of their true worth and value, and to let them know they're never alone, despite how isolated, rejected, or heartbroken they may feel. Whether given to myself or another person, I welcome and allow the attribute of encouragement to show me a renewed depth of loving, the grace of giving and receiving from a heart centered in love. And now I invite you to breathe into your heart more fully. If it feels right, place one of your hands over your heart as you offer yourself the love of these words. Heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, and peace radiating. And breathing in and breathing out, I invite you now to call to mind someone you desire to hold in loving kindness and compassion. Sense their presence. Sense your oneness as you breathe in and out of your heart that is in holy union with the cosmic heartbeat of love itself. And affirm these words to your beloved. Heart opening, light shining, love flowing, wounds dissolving, and peace radiating in the stillness. Breathing in and breathing out. I am willing, I am willing to be centered in compassion from the highest place of consciousness. And I am willing to pick one person to hold and embody in dynamic listening as I honor their journey, as I embody encouragement from the most sacred space within and from beyond. And so it is, and so it shall be. Taking a deep breath in and out, rubbing your hands together, sensing the energy that is within and without, placing your hands out, sending love from your heart out to all those gathered here in the sanctuary over Zoom and beyond. Breathing in and breathing out, and I invite you to slowly open your eyes. Namaste.